Amazing. We are live. Welcome to today's live video. This is my first live video. And in today's video, we are going to be doing part 3 of a 3-part series on how to overcome self-doubt in business. If you haven't seen the first 2, we talked about perfectionism in the first one. And in the second one, we talked about how to overcome imposter syndrome. So if you look on my video playlist in YouTube, you'll see very well edited, scripted videos. But I just wanted to take the chance and go live today and talk about how to overcome fear. And it is ironic because fear is about stepping outside of your comfort zone. Fear shows up when we're doing new things. But when I look at business women, business people across the world, career professionals, fear has held us back and cost us thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars, and so many other prized things in our lives. Fear held us back, has held many people back from applying for the job that they so deserve. For if you're in business, asking for the prices for your services to reflect the amazing value that you bring. It could even have held you back from speaking up, from applying for that promotion, not just asking for the raise that you deserve, but even from putting your name in the hat and applying for promotion. But 2020 is a new year. 2020 is also the beginning of a new decade. And I'm sure even if before 2020 was amazing for you, I am sure you want the next decade and the next year to be 100 times better. So I believe that learning how to move forward despite fear is going to give you the energy and the fuel you need. And I'm excited to do this live video. It's little less organized, I guess, than my scripted videos, but the content and the value will be just as amazing. So if it is your first time joining me on my channel, first of all, I just want to say welcome. I am Keisha, the career and business confidence coach, equipping you to own your inherent brilliance, eliminate your shrinking tendencies so that you can win and dominate in your field or an industry. I focus specifically on professional and business women. So welcome to my channel today. So excited to have you. So as I said, I'm going to share with you 3 tips on how to overcome fear. And the most important thing I want to tell you, first of all, is I don't want to deceive you to let you know that you're never going to have fear, because if you are a gladiator, boss woman, or a boss business person, you're always pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. You're always trying something new. As a matter of fact, one of the most important things that we can do as high performers to keep on leveling up our game, one of the most important things that we can do is to consistently take action. But whenever we're taking action in new things, fear is going to show up. So I'm not going to tell you, tips that's going to eliminate the fear, because as long as you're doing new things, fear is going to show up. But what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to give you some tips to move forward despite the fear. You hear it all the time. Feel the fear and do it anyway. But what does that mean? And how exactly can you do that? So I'm going to share with you 3 tips to be able to do that successfully. Are you ready? So the first tip, and we're going to try to keep this to 5 to 10 minutes the max. So the first tip, and as I said, it's live video, so I'm going to be a little bit scrappy today. But if you can read this, the number 1, I feel like Vanna White here, but number 1 is lean into your fear, because it is your superpower, your superhero maker. Now, we hear a lot of questions going out these days is, what's your superpower? What's your superpower? But for me, the most important question isn't what is your superpower? The most important question is, what gave you your superpower? And typically, what gives us our superpower is our struggle. What gives us our superpower is our pain. What gives us our superpower is our commitment to keep going despite the opposition, the fear, the struggle, the pain that we feel, because We know when we get to the other side, the character that it builds, the determination that it builds, the skills that it builds cannot be ever replicated, never duplicated. And so a lot of us, we love the results, but we don't like the process that we have to go through to get there. We look at other people and we say, oh my God, this person is amazing and they are extraordinary. But you know what I've learned? It's that most people are not extraordinary. When they're out there doing amazing and extraordinary things, it doesn't mean that they were extraordinary by nature. It means that they were just an ordinary person who made an extraordinary decision every single day, and they consistently took action on those extraordinary decisions. And that is what made them extraordinary, because they are taking action. The ordinary thing to do is, when the fear and the opposition comes, is to stop. Is to allow it to crush you in your tracks. When life knocks the air out of you and you have no oxygen to breathe, you have that determination in you to gasp for a breath of air and to breathe again and to smile again and to get up again when you fall down and to take that first step after falling down and to just live again. See, the ordinary thing is to shrink back, but extraordinary people that make extraordinary decisions don't shrink back. They keep moving forward. And so I know that fear feels tough, but think about it as your superhero, your super hero maker. If you can continue to take action, even if you can't run anymore, even if you have to walk, even if you have to crawl to the other side, as long as you don't stop, you win. You absolutely win. So I feel absolute compassion for people who struggle with fear and they feel fear, yet at the same time, I want to celebrate you because you're an action taker, you are a gladiator, and you decided no matter how difficult it gets, that you're going to keep going. And for that, I want to acknowledge you and I want to celebrate you. And that honestly is the raw ingredient and the raw materials that you need to win. The second point that we have is, do one thing that scares you every single day. Now, as we talked about before, one of the most important things that high performers can do to keep themselves growing and learning and just taking their performance to the next level is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the way to do that is to consistently put yourself in positions that you are going to feel uncomfortable. So having that tough conversation that you have been procrastinating from having, applying for that job, giving that speech, consistently putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and recognizing the fear when it comes up and realizing that you are in charge of your response. You're not going to be able to stop the fear from coming up, but what you can do, you can be the boss of how you respond to that fear. And how you respond is to keep going and to keep doing it. And the more you build the skill of knowing what to do in the presence of discomfort, is the more you're going to be able to win in whatever area it is. So what feels uncomfortable for me may not feel uncomfortable for you, and whatever feels uncomfortable for you may not feel uncomfortable for me. So that is personally identified. I'll give you a quick example. I had a conversation that I was completely procrastinating from having, and I waited weeks and weeks and months to have this conversation. And you know what? Finally, I just said to myself, I need to have this conversation. I need to ask for this thing that I really want. And the worst thing that the person can say is no. And I asked, and guess what? I can't tell you that the person said yes. They said no. But you know what? I am glad they said no, because even though it was a worst possible case scenario, what I realized is that I survived. I lived. And I learned that I really needed to think of a new strategy. I also learned how resilient I am. And I'm telling you my experience because it's the same thing for you. Even if the worst possible thing happened, the learnings and growth and understanding can come from it. So there is no need to hold yourself back because of fear, because even in the worst case scenario, there is learning and benefit from it. And it's the thing, as I said before, that can push you to allow you to figure out what your magic is, what your superpower is. So I want to encourage you to consistently do one thing that scares you every single day, and you will realize just how exhilarating it is. That energy that you get to use that fear as your fuel, it's indescribable. So I'm going to actually do a 21-day challenge in February, and I'm going to create a little group, and we're going to take action and action and action so that we can create a new future for ourselves in 2020 and going forward. So stay out, listen on my channel for that, or sign up to my email list, which is highlighted below in the description box after the video goes live. I'll give you some more information. And the final tip is actually related to the first and second, and it is 3, to keep a journal of fear versus reality. And I just want to say, I know this is super scrappy, but in the name of not being a perfectionist, I believe that, you know what, value is still coming out. There's information still coming out. So let me know if you enjoy the live version better than you enjoy the script version of my videos. But as I said, point number 3, keep a journal of fear versus reality. If you're like me, you have a super creative mind. And we begin to create things in our head that, oh my God, if I do this, this is going to happen. And there's an expression that says, fear is just false evidence appearing real. That's what fear is. But the reality is, if we really start writing down, before we take an action, if we start writing down what our worst imagined outcome is, and we actually start to track what the reality is after the fact, we will realize that the worst case possible scenario that we imagine almost never, ever happens. It's completely irrational because our brains are just trying to protect ourselves from danger. It is the fight or flight response mode that we automatically go in when we're in danger. And our brain doesn't know the reality between real danger and perceived threat. And fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of failure are actually imagined things. You're not like, a lion or a bear attacking us. It's not like we're going to get run over a car or burned in fire. But our brain doesn't know the difference between perception and reality. And so our brain creates all these horrible scenarios in our mind. But if we write down what we thought was going to happen versus what happens, we can be logical and we can recognize that this is all imagined and it's just to try to keep us safe. But guess what? Our dreams die in our comfort zone. Wherever you start to feel safe and you're not feeling any sort of fear, it means you have settled for complacency. And in order to move forward, there is no complacency here because we're going to keep pushing ourselves to learn and to grow. So I want you to tell me which one of these 3 tips most resonated with you. Drop it in the comments below, and also let me know in the comments below whether or not you enjoyed this live version. I certainly enjoyed making it. But yeah, drop it in the comments below. Join me next week as I start a new series at the end of next week. Next week, Wednesday, I'll have my next live video. So I'm looking forward to you guys joining me next week for a new series. But in the meantime, I just want to remind you that you were not meant to shrink down lower. So rise up and own your power. Have a great week.